going on, everybody? Welcome to Mystics Outlook. Looks like it'll be our final one for this season. Um, Joined by Raymond Lyons, I'm Wilson Turpey Jr. Seattle wins Game 2, 97-84, sweeping Washington in the first round. Uh, it was kind of a back and forth affair for much of the game, and then you saw Seattle just create separation in the third quarter, and once again in the fourth to put it away. Um, for me personally, it felt like they got off to a good start, obviously being at home, but we talked about the little things after game one. Rebounding was crazy. Like the offensive rebounding was so many times watching them play good defense initially, but the second chance shots that Seattle got were clean looks, and we saw Seattle get going offensively in this one. But Ray, I'll let you start. What's your thoughts on this one?
Um, to be perfectly honest, man,
Hold on, Ray. I can't hear you. My bad. My bad. I don't know if something went out real quick. But like it just went out. So try to get Ray back. No, I still can't. You might just have to leave and just come right back in. It might just be that. Like I heard you at first, but yeah, just until Ray, we can hear Ray again. It was a tough one for sure. We knew what this series was going to be like for Washington and for Seattle. I just thought Seattle was the much better team in tonight's game. Um, they took care of the little things. We saw Super bounce back with a huge game tonight, 18 points, 10 assists. Only had one turnover. They shot the three extremely well tonight. Ray,
you hear me?
yeah, we're back.
All right, cool. Yeah, now
I can't hear you again. Sorry, guys. Just technical difficulties are a part of it. Um, I think we'll have Ray back again. But and I was saying, we saw Stewie get off to a slow start in this one. Jewel Lloyd got off to a slow start in the first game. We saw how Jewel ended game one. And then in this one, we saw Stewie ended the game too. She would finish with 21 points after I think having like 4 points at the half. Um, yeah, I think 4 points at the half. She had 6 or 7 assists at the half. She's doing a good job facilitating. But that initial surge in the third, we really got to see Seattle take off. And they did a good job defensively. It seemed like they made it clear they wanted to trap EDD, get the ball out of her hands as quick as possible. They also looked like they didn't want EDD to get comfortable, and they were trying to make sure Ariel didn't get comfortable either. Other than that, they did a good job just getting other folks just to hold up or hesitate just a little bit, and it cost Washington. And again, I'm gonna keep going back to the rebounds. The rebounding part of it was crazy. Um, in terms of the offensive rebounds, I'm trying to find them. It was just nuts. What's up, Ray?
all right. Third time's a charm. Can you hear me?
Got you.
No. Yeah, I think game to game that it was in their grasp, but they managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And when you don't have home court and you know you got to steal one on the road, giving up a game is just not an option, man. And coming into this one, I think Seattle was like, we're going to finish our business here. There's no reason to to make a cross country trek and then try to steal one in their house. So Seattle came in with the mindset that we're going to finish things off, and that's what they did, man. You saw with the hot start, they came out guns blazing in the first quarter, and the Mystics they fought back, but Seattle was in a groove, man. We just saw a team that's in championship mode and trying to get a ring, playing against a team that's still really trying to figure it out. To be perfectly honest, man, we've been saying it all season how they're they're trying to find themselves and find their identity, and then those little things that have been tripping them up all season were still there in the playoffs. And they all came back to bite them. You mentioned giving up the second chance opportunities, the turnovers at times. We know Seattle's a team that likes to get in transition and push the ball off fly ball turnovers. They did that, at a couple key moments. Um, at one point, the Mystics were trying to fight their way back into it. Sue Bird jumps the gap, breakaway steal, layup, gives all the momentum right back to the Storm. So yeah, man, it's just some little things the Mystics need to clean up. From a personnel standpoint, they have everything they need. Seattle, man, they they were just out for blood. They attacked Shakira relentlessly. Hats off to her. She fought, but it gets to a certain point where you just got to take the lumps, man. And yeah, and it's not like she had a a small task on her hands. She got to deal with Tina Charles and Brianna Stewart. So yeah, man, that's a hell of a thing for a rookie to have to deal with in the first postseason. Um, Gabby Williams, for the time she was in the game, what she did in game one carried over. Um, her defensive versatility, her timely shot making. I think she was 5 for 6 before she had to step away due to the concussion. And Drew Lloyd decided to get started in the first half today. Stewie, she was cold in the first half, but she impacted the game in several areas. And if you're gonna have Stewie go over from the field, you can't let her do all those other things, man. Like it defeats the purpose if you shut off one valve, but then another one's leaking uncontrollably. Like you just it's like you're trying to mop up the ocean at that point. So yeah, man, it's I'm not gonna say it was a disappointing season, but I don't think they the Mystics met their own expectations. I thought they would go more than one round in the playoffs. You got to think back to some of those close ones they dropped along the way, including on July 30th against the Storm, which would have had them hosting 2 games. So the little things, man, they build up. Over the length of a season and in a vacuum in a singular game. You just got to take care of business all the way around, especially when you're dealing with a team like this. You muted, bro.
Appreciate it. I think one of the other things, Coach was just talking about a little bit now is, they were happy that they got through the year with the way they were managing Elena, which is cool. That is obviously great steps in the right direction. I also think it's one of the things where if don't know what's going to happen in the roster, don't know what they plan on doing, however it is, continuity was just an issue, to a degree. Obviously, couldn't do too much with the injuries, but they never got to that place where it was like NBA wise. You remember the Grizzlies this past year?
Mm-hmm.
They had Ja Morant, obviously not the same team, and they don't have Ja. However, they were still dumb productive enough to handle business when they didn't have him. I don't feel like this team ever got to that place on non-Elena days, and it eventually caught up to them. So
Yeah,
essentially, Seattle's job was to just take her away, even though she's there. Take her away to a degree as much as you can. And where are we? And I think it hurt to a degree. I think, like, some of the things we've been talking about. Like, I think Tasha had 16 tonight, or 21 tonight, I'm sorry, which was great. But it also felt like Seattle was cool with her having 21,
mm-hmm.
which that's the hard part. That's where it kind of lies the issue, right? Like, she had 21, which is love because you want her to score, you want her to get after it. But some moments, like just being more attack minded, it felt like they were able to force the issue with them having Sue on the floor. How some teams have made Seattle pay for having Sue on the floor, versus I don't feel like Washington made them pay for it on the defensive end. We'll see they weren't able to kind of isolate Sue and attack her, and I think some of it's just because of some of it's kind of personnel, to a degree. We saw Jewel go off. It was just like you said. I think you said it best. They certainly probably didn't meet their own expectations this year. I think that's probably the best way that you could say it. However, like you said with Shakira, I'm not. I have no issue with her in this postseason at all. You have to go through this. This is all part of being a rookie, and we saw her kind of, be a rookie this year, get her feet wet, do well in primetime matchups, and if you're Seattle, it's a postseason game. Why wouldn't you get their biggest player off the floor, like, or why wouldn't you put their biggest player in tough situations? When Cardell did the pro with Jewel, like it was huge because Washington switches a lot, and we saw Jewel get off to a decent start in this one, and getting to her spots, knocking down shots, and it was Stewie with a slow start this time. However, when you always have other folks going, because they always have somebody going in Seattle, it's hard. You can't turn the water off for everybody just because it comes from so many different places, and that's what made Washington 2019 different. This group a little bit different. We talked about how this group is going to have to win a little bit differently, and this that's when the room for error gets small and the little things catch up. Rebounding, like to me, it was just rebounding today. You can't give a team this good offensively extra opportunities. They're going to make you pay. Like they're built to make you pay. Like it just is what it is. You can't give Sue Bird open looks. You can't and kudos in this series. Honestly, I think Gabby Williams was amazing in this series. I think she really changed. Like she changed the math in this series for. She was one of the players where, and again, just being able to put the ball on the floor, what it does for people, right? Think about how her ability to be able to get to where she wanted to go, to attack closeouts and things like that. Because we know she's not a quote unquote shooter or whatever, right? Cool, but she was able to put pressure on Washington's defense because she could put the ball on the floor. She's able to get downhill and either score over a smaller defender or create for others. I thought she did it. It was sad to see her go out with a concussion. I wish her a speedy recovery. But like even in this game, she had 14 before she left.
Hmm.
Like it was big, man. And again, I know we'll get into whatever Washington's going to decide to do roster wise later or what have you. But like, yeah, it's sad we can see this iteration, I guess, at their peak. But it is what it is. But Seattle's Seattle, and I think a lot of folks knew what this matchup was. It's former champions going up against each other in this one, and you know Washington walked out. Someone had to lose it, and Washington wasn't able to pull this thing back to Washington. And that game one, those little things in game one, you and Cardell talked about, haunted them. Because you can't go back and change that, right? And then
Hmm.
you weren't going to have two games in a row when Jewel Lloyd took 3 quarters to get going. It's not going to happen, right? Who would you have for player of the game?
Um, I went with Sue Bird, man. She controlled the game in every aspect. The game one, she had what, 2 assists.
Mm.
You know, that's not typical of her. She came back in this game and kind of went back to her normal self and added 18 points. Um, I don't know what the the defensive strategy was, but she got a lot of clean looks, man, and she made them pay. Yeah, maybe with her for her moving the ball like she was, it kind of maybe it threw the Mystics off, and they just weren't sure what to try to take away. But she capitalized, and yeah, man, especially in the first half with with Stewie not scoring like she normally does. She kind of picked up that slack offensively, scoring wise, and got Seattle off to that great start.
Yeah, man. Out despite the slow first half, I'm going Stewie because she was still able to facilitate out of the double team she was getting in the
Mhm.
first half. Um, I feel like even though she didn't hit a field goal, I think we felt her impact in the first half. Despite that, on the boards, on the defensive end, and especially moving the ball, because I think a couple of Sue's threes came off, them doubling Stewie in the post and her just finding shooters. I know one of the things in the first quarter, I think they jumped to mind. She had the ball in the post. They brought the double. Talbot cuts back door. She fakes out to a shooter and drops it behind her to Talbot. Back door for the easy too. She made them pay for it, where Washington wasn't necessarily able to make Seattle pay on the other end for as much as they doubled EDD. But your X factor,
Uh, I went Gabby Williams and Stephanie Talbot. Just for the way Gabby started the game, 5-6 from the floor. 14 points. And you brought up, her just kind of putting pressure on the Mystics defense and putting them out of whack. And then, when she goes down, Stephanie Talbot comes in, and it's she didn't score the basketball like Gabby Williams did, but she impacted the game in almost every other way. Her she had 3 rebounds. They were all offensive, and they all led to second chance baskets. That's like you can't allow that to happen, man. And they're all at crucial moments. When it looks like the Mystics are going to get a stop and try to get their groove back in this thing. She gets in there, puts her nose in it, gets the offensive board, and gives Seattle another chance, man. So yeah, those two their efforts combined, just kind of gave Seattle a leg up.
Yeah, I was gonna go with Talbot and McBaker again. I know Gabby had a big night, but the offensive rebounding, man. Like Talbot had 3 rebounds all game. All 3 were offensive, and I felt like all 3 of them were huge. I thought at times what Ezzy was able to do defensively when they're able to take Tina out, they low key get better defensively, like a lot. When they take her out, it's not a knock on Tina, it's just what Ezzy brings to the table, and they're able to switch even more. She covers so much ground. You don't have to help when she switches. Um, and I thought she was able to deal with Shakira's athleticism a little bit better than
Mhm.
Tina was at times. And the times when she was in and Shakira was out, she had the advantage and length and athleticism over. Elizabeth obviously good size, but as he moves very very well. It's 11 points between the two of them, but I thought their impact was bigger. And I guess I'm with you. If you could kind of slide Gabby into that too, like those 3, like as a glue woman for Seattle, they kind of just come in and do whatever needs to be done on a given day. And it felt like in this series specifically, whatever Seattle needed, they just provided. In the first game with Gabby, it was like, oh, we saw her do a little bit of everything, and this one was like, we just need you to score, and she did it. But those 3 were huge, man. And credit to Seattle. That's how you win championships. We saw it firsthand in 2019 where they had a whole mob of folks coming off that bench to change games. But for Seattle, yeah, those 2 were huge. And the fact that you can play them with different pieces. And I thought it was just huge for Seattle. You have anything else you want to add as the season comes to a close?
Um, I mean, definitely not the results that we wanted, but I mean, it did require a lot of flexibility, on the Mystics' part. There with the Elena managing her injury. They didn't start the season. They didn't have Alicia Clark. You know, continuity is a big thing, man. You know, um, when they kind of had a better idea who they be going in with because it was more of a structured plan as opposed to last year when people were just dropping like flies. But in the same vein, they see where they got to improve. You know, um, even when Elaine is there, they can't just put the whole thing on her shoulders. They gotta be more well rounded than that. And had they been, this series maybe goes a different way. So yeah, man, it's got some things to clean up. I feel like they'll be in a better spot next season. Hopefully, Elena's at a place where, she can just go the whole way through. You never know with that back, man. But towards the end of the year, she started to look like she, had her legs back, and was looking like herself for the most part. But yeah, man, we'll see next year.
Yeah, like you said, I think the biggest things I thought I appreciated Ariel's aggressiveness,
Mm,
whether Elena was there or not, especially in the postseason. Like I was I was happy seeing her hunt her shot a bit because someone has to be that number 2 person here. It looks like it's clearly her, and like you said, to that point, I need more people. Maybe not to. I don't want anybody to step outside their role per se, but you need to. I think that's the biggest thing. Like I feel like I don't want to say mentality changes, but um, I feel like when all right, you remember when Katie was with Golden State, right? And Draymond legit was like, I think Draymond, like Clay alluded to, like, when he was around, I felt like, you had some room for error a little bit. So you might not be as aggressive or assertive as you felt like you needed to be. I felt like in this case, like Washington's going through that, and they just, more people, like, you have to be consistent with it. If she's there, great. Like, she just needs to add to what it is.
Mm.
It doesn't need to be like a noticeable, like, it feels like it's two different teams at times, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't feel that way. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if she's there, great. You got one of the best players in the league. It is what it is. Yes, she needs her touches. However, you also need to keep the same energy you have when you know you need to step up and be assertive, what have you, when she's not there. For when teams try to do this, then they can't take her away. They can't. Like, we saw Washington try to force the ball out of Stewie's hands, and what happened? Everyone else got going.
Hmm.
Everyone else got going. Like, you took one person away, but everybody else got going. And that's the thing. Like, we heard Coach T talk about it. Like, we stand around too much. Yeah, when Elena gets there, it's far too much watching. Cut, move, something. We saw Stewie get the ball in the post. She gets trapped or what have you. No one's standing still on Seattle. And I think that's like the biggest difference. And they've, yeah, continuity is in their favor too. But they've had some things where she hasn't been there for 3 consecutive years all the time. She's dealing with her injury stuff as well. Like, but I don't think they change totally. Like, their mindset, I don't feel like totally changes. They never feel like two different teams. It's just if they're fully healthy or not. To me, that's how it feels like. So I feel like that's one of the things where I think Washington needs to take a step in the right direction, no matter what the roster looks like whether she's on the court or not. Like, y'all have to be assertive. The standing and watching is not it, and I think the standing and watching is why you're at home right now, along with those little things we talked about. But the standing and watching offensively, like, you never threaten Seattle after the ball gets down to her. There was a couple possessions in this game where they doubled late, and it was like, oh my god, what do we do? What do you mean? What do you do? Like, play basketball. Like, continue to play basketball. Like, we've seen you do it before. Like, stick with it. So I guess that's kind of the only, like, frustrating thing, like you said. But it is what it is. It's one season. We'll see what things look like. Throughout this off season, because things are ever changing. Are they going to continue to go on with the score, or even if they do continue to go on with the score, how do they add to it, and how does it evolve? But point being, what it was this year clearly wasn't enough, as they fell to Seattle. So it is what it is. It was a good, it was a solid year. But like you said, I think you said it perfectly. I don't think they hit any of the expectations that they set out this season. So for Raymond and myself, we will close. Y'all enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see some of y'all tomorrow morning with Mornings with the Focus, and we'll see the rest of y'all Wednesday morning for this week's edition of the Focus TV. Y'all have a great one.